What's up, everybody, and welcome to Rave and Review, where we rave and review all things pop culture and things that interest us. My name is Brianna, but you can call me Bre, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BreNavette26.
And I'm Kaya, and you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at kaya.r.pennington. And I'm also on Snapchat at QueenAthena44.
And you can follow Rave and Review on Instagram and Twitter at Rave_and_review. And before we get started, please remember to follow, subscribe, and most importantly,
share.
Please share.
And hit the notification bell on YouTube if you're on YouTube.
Yep, do that, please. All right, let's get into our first segment, Twitter Conversations. In this segment, we review trending threads or conversations on Twitter. And today, we're going to talk about a video of a woman bashing her baby daddy for bringing his child food, but none for the others, which calls for the question, should he have brought food for the other kids? Kaya, what do you think?
I see both sides. Now, on the one hand, he's doing right by his kid. He is feeding his kid. He is trying to spend time with his kid. We don't know how his bank account is set up. Maybe he could only feed his kid, especially if he was going to like McDonald's or someplace like that. We don't know. He's doing right by his kid. Also, where is your ability to feed the kids, like food stamps or like your income or their father's income? Where is their ability to feed their kids? He's doing right by his. Some people will say he doesn't have the father in the video doesn't really have an obligation to feed those other kids. However, that being said, the way I was raised is that it's just what you do. No, you don't have an obligation to, but if I'm about to cook something for me and there are other people in the house, I'll ask, hey, do y'all want some of what I'm about to cook? Or if I'm about to go out and get something, hey, do y'all want some of what I'm about to go out and get? Again, we don't know his setup, but I think she came out with another video and was like, he was already feeding the kids when we were together. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's true, why would you all of a sudden cut off these kids' food like that? Again, you're not obligated to, but if you know the situation, they don't understand. It's not their fault that their parents are irresponsible. Would it really have cost so much to buy a pizza or something they could share? Fast food wise, grocery wise, I get it, buying for one kid because they're probably going to share anyway, but would it have cost so much to buy a pizza or something they could share, especially if you were already doing it? But that's just me. How about you? What do you?
I agree with you. And now that I know that there's a possibility where he may have been buying all the kids' food at one point and then he just stopped, that could be really harmful for the other kids because they probably think that they did something wrong.
Right. And
so I hope that's not the case, but I'm only go off of what I know so far. And so I do understand why the mother would be upset. They have different parents and these kids are still related though. And like I said, they don't understand what's going on. You know what I mean? Stuff like that doesn't click until you're 11, not even then, until you're 14 or 15 years old. You don't understand stuff like that. They just know that they're family. And they probably are just going to share food with each other anyways, unless let's say the dad's just okay, so I'm going to buy you some McDonald's, right? If he knows that the mother feels so strongly and so betrayed about the fact that he's only buying it for one kid, buy the kids some McDonald's and say you go to the park or say you go in your car or say you go to the apartment and play video games. Just do that to make the others feel like they aren't being left out.
Now, I will say this, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I will say, I want to put this out that the whole reason the video started is because he was calling the kid out to get the food so that he could eat outside. So kind of like what you're saying, I think if you're only going to feed that kid, already have him in your vicinity or whatever, and then feed him. Don't bring it to him, expect him to come outside, because the kids know what's up. Now, they do know that much, but continue, I'm sorry.
I just feel, and it's also different, McDonald's is different from buying groceries. Both are extremely expensive, especially nowadays. You're going to spend a pretty penny. But, if you bring groceries into the house and it's only for one kid, them kids can be hey, where my snacks?
Right.
Where my hot Cheetos? They going to feel that way. Of course, the kids probably just going to share them anyways unless he one of them bad kids with silver tooth that like to rub stuff in their siblings' faces. But, I also don't understand why the mother felt the responsibility to take it to the internet to expose him. That's dangerous. And the reason why I say that's dangerous is because like everything don't always stay in your small, cute little Facebook corner, your small little corner of the internet. She lucky that this is only turned into small Twitter discourse.
Right.
They could have made a meme out of her video, which they kind of did on TikTok, but they lucky they didn't make a song out of that video, okay? Because it could easily be done. All right, some people don't care, and she should have kept it to herself. I also agree with you. She should definitely have like just do your best to provide for your kids, right? That's not easy, but just where's her being responsible for herself? You know what I'm saying? Like, or where's her holding herself accountable? She should do that.
Right.
That's what I think. Period.
But let's move on into that's just our Southern hospitality. How about that? That's our Southern hospitality.
Southern hospitality, good old-fashioned Southern hospitality.
But let's move into our book review, and today we're reviewing Would-Be Witch by Kimberly Frost. This follows Tamara, however you want to pronounce it, Tammy Jo Trask.
Tammy Jo.
She goes by Tammy Jo Trask. And now she comes from a magical family, and she knows this, but she didn't really get her powers until recently. And so when she get her powers, they're all messed up and weird because she is, spoiler, part fae. She's a witch and she's fae, and so they're always trying to cancel each other out. So her magic is wonky. However, she meets wizard Bren. We have had discourse about how to pronounce his name.
It's Bren. It's
Bren. Bren Lyons, and he's this genius wizard. He's a rich lawyer, and so he helps her a lot with the issues that go on in town, the magical issues that go on in town. And so it also involves a love triangle between her, Bren, and her on again, off again ex, Zach, who is they're in this small town somewhere in Texas. So they have small town values. So Zach is definitely that protect women kind of man. So cowboy. So with that said, Bre, what are your thoughts on the Would-Be Witch series, and what would you rate it?
This book is my guilty pleasure because when you introduced it to me, you told me, hey, I was like, Kaya, I need a book to read, and you gave me this series. I'm just like, great, I'll be busy for a week.
I put her on.
I read it in 2 days, y'all. How many books is it? 6, 5, 4? I don't know.
5 or 6.
I read it in 2 days, Kaya. Can't believe that. But it's a good book. I just think that it can be a little all over the place thanks to the main character, Tammy Jo. She is definitely an agent of chaos, all right? And there were also some really interesting things that I wanted to see more of, but we kind of just got left hanging, like the prophecy. Come on now. So much potential. And
so there is a prophecy. Let's explain the prophecy.
Wasted.
There is a prophecy that basically says in her family do not associate with this list of people. And on that list is Bren, but she doesn't know why. And so the prophecy states that Bren will take a child away from her. But the way they explain this away is that she is the child and he's taking her away from her family because her family views her as a child. That's how they explain that. And so that's but continue.
So stupid. You know what I was ready for? I was ready for Tammy Jo to have a kid, and then Tammy Jo becomes this evil fairy, and then Bren whisks the baby away, and they have a custody battle, and this, that, and the fourth. I was extremely let down, and you could imagine my confusion when I got to the end of the book and nothing like that happened, right? I'm thinking, maybe they got the prophecy wrong, or I completely skimmed over the part where the town flooded, and they basically handled the whole prophecy part. I was angry. Let down. What a mediocre plot twist. Extremely mediocre. I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean about it, but that's just how I feel. Extremely mediocre. Let me down all the way.
So what would you rate it?
What would I rate it? Ooh, I'll give it a hot 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. That's a C or is that a D?
That's a D, girl.
That's a D.
But like I said, it's my guilty pleasure. It's still good, but it could be better.
Okay. For me, I really enjoy this book. Like, I read this book back in high school. It was just one of the books that I had picked up. And the format that I read it in, it was one of those small books, not like a normal size book. I hate those small books, but I still enjoyed the series. Now, I'll admit, Tammy Jo really is all over the place, but it is a fun ride. I do not like Zach. Like, there was no competition between Zach and Bren. Like,
None.
None. This man institutionalized her. At least he sent her to a psychiatrist against her will when she told him the truth about her family. Which, that's granted, it's not so out there. But if she told him one of the most, intimate things about her, and he's like, "You crazy?"
Oh, Tammy Joe, get on in there to that institution.
See, I can't stand you. Why would you do this accent? Look, and again, he has those old-timey values, protect women, and he calls her darling and sugar and all of that stuff. So it's like, and then you have Brent, who is a successful, rich, powerful wizard and lawyer. He always believes you. He's always trying to see the best in you and get you to do your best. There is no
millionaire.
There is no competition. I personally, I don't think Tammy Joe actually deserved Bren.
She didn't.
Like,
this man died.
So many times. Like, he linked his life to hers. To me, and that's like in the third or fourth book. Like, there is no choice between her ex-husband and this
not
dude.
Even in the third. That happened at the end of the second, right?
I don't know. It's either at the end of the second or at the beginning of the third. But like, it's early on that he does this. But there is a scene in like the fourth or fifth book where Tammy is trying to get her, she's trying to still have a friendship and a relationship with Zach, and so she basically says something like, Bren, he can't move on because we're tied by this spell, so I'm just gonna focus on Zach. And then we see Bren actually get upset and just like, I can't do this no more. He almost leaves her. Like,
he should have.
Personally, I would have loved to have read the series from his
friend's point of view. He carried the show on his back. He was such a dynamic character. He was so good.
And I wish we would have gotten to see more of their couple dynamic outside of them always trying to save the town, or outside of her just needing something, right? But I will say this though, I give it like an 8 out of 10 because I liked it and I really liked Bren, and I liked Tammy Joe. I don't think she was always deserving of Bren. But can you imagine? This is why I thought the name was Brian, because I thought it was one of those one of those other spellings of Brian. But can you imagine Bren in a southern accent, like a deep southern accent? Brian, darling, can you come here? Like,
Stop it.
It does not roll off the tongue. So, you know what? His name is Bren, but I'm going to call him Brian.
You do that. Okay. Well,
but with that, I will give it an 8 out of 10. So.
That's solid. Well, while we're still on the topic of mediocre plot twists, let's move on to our third segment, childhood reviews. Is it still good? All right. Today we're going to be reviewing the Divergent series written by Veronica Roth that was later turned into the films in 2014. It follows Beatrice Pryor in a dystopian society where everyone is divided into 5 factions. All right. Abnegation, Dauntless, Candor, Erudite, and Amity. And then there's a secret 6th, Divergent. Trish quickly finds out that she doesn't fit into any of these categories, but she is forced to pick so that she can hide her true identity from the government. For this review, there's going to be interchangeable discourse between the book and the movie, and spoiler alert. Kai, what do you think?
Spoiler alert. Okay, so first, it's so nostalgic because it came out. I can't remember exactly when the book was written, but the movies came out right in that girl boss or just overall dystopian era where you had like Harry Potter, you had the Hunger Games, you'd have the Maze Runner in a little bit. Like, it came out in that, like, we were 14, 15, fanning out over all this. So, and I still can't listen to a lot of Ellie Goulding songs because she basically was the entire soundtrack. There were some other songs on it that weren't her, but like, I still can't listen to some of those songs because it's the tears. Like, it's so hard. It's so nostalgic, but like in a good way, I guess, somewhat. So there's Amity, who values peace and harmony. There's Candor, who values truth. There's Amity, there's Erudite, who values intelligence, Abnegation, who values selflessness, and Dauntless, who value bravery. Now, in high school, we would always talk about how we were dauntless. That was basically... Or
Divergent.
I'm gonna say I'm Divergent, because Dauntless is basically the police. Like, basically, that's what they are.
Dauntless, I don't understand. Like, I couldn't be dauntless because I got arthritis. I couldn't be doing all that climbing and jumping off trains and stuff like that. Send me to Amity, all right? Send me to Amity where I can grow crops.
I grow crops. I'm Divergent. I'm Divergent. Now, so I really like the story up until the end. Now, the book is basically, Triss chooses, her name is Beatrice, but she goes by Triss. So she chooses Dauntless, right? And so Dauntless, their initiation rituals are basically pushing you to the edge, both physically and mentally, for you to come out stronger, right? You're basically getting stronger, both physically and mentally. And huge spoiler alert, she dies at the end. Basic gunshot. Like, she dies from a basic gunshot. Now, she survives a death serum. She survives, like, torture from one of the bad guys. And Janine, one of the bad guys in there. She survives torture from her. She survives, like, Erudite trying to take over their whole government, only for her to go out with a basic gunshot. Like, again, this is a time where you're one, it's girl boss, it's, we can be that kind of tough, and you're going from weak to strong, both physically and mentally, and she just goes out. Like, her parents died for her, so her death at the end basically invalidates their death. They willingly died for her. She had 2 friends that died, but she still had another friend, Christina, and she still had her boyfriend, Thor, or Tobias. And, like, you leave them, she sacrificed herself for Caleb, who is her brother, who is a traitor. He's basically the reason that their parents are dead. Yes. She sacrifices herself for them. I get that Veronica Roth didn't want to make it completely like the Hunger Games, where at the end of it, most of them survive, but they're all tortured and tormented. I get that, because a lot of people were kind of saying, oh, this is kind of like the Hunger Games, but
which I don't see that anymore.
Right? Like, tell me you didn't know how to write your ending without telling me you didn't know how to write your ending. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's just, it does not. Why would you kill? Now, there were so many deaths in some of my favorite books, like so many deaths in the Hunger Games, like Finnick and Prim and Rue and Senna. I didn't cry when any of them died. I didn't cry.
Rue's different for me.
Well, I didn't cry. I didn't really get emotional when any of them died. I didn't get emotional when Peeta got hijacked. But when Trish died, I cried, and I hate that I cried, because again, why would you? I will never read another Veronica Roth story, like, ever.
You read 4?
I did read 4, didn't I? But that's different. That's different. I read 4 before I had finished the series. Before I made it to Allegiant.
Now, you did it.
Yes, I did.
You did it.
Yes,
we
I
both
did.
read Allegiant in the middle school. Kaya.
Yes, and I read 4 in middle school, because I'm not going to use her real name, but the librarian, she we had those bookstores, and she paid for her library aides. Since I was a library aide, she paid for her library aides books, and so we each got 1 book, and that was my book.
So we running low on time, but
we gonna make it.
You mean to tell me that after you got done reading Allegiant, I literally walked right into that library and grabbed Allegiant, right? You mean to tell me that Veronica Roth finished writing 4 right after Allegiant? 4 wasn't released in middle school. We didn't get 4 until like the 9th grade.
Bre, I got 4 at the middle school. I got it right here. I'm trying to see if it still has the tag on it. But I got 4 in middle school at the book fair.
Let me see the date.
I can't show you the date.
They don't show when it was written.
Look, what happened if we're running low on time? Hold on. Look, I got
Nah,
4.
we good. I need to see.
I got 4 at middle school at the whatchamacallit. Cause it says 2013. 2013 was 6th grade.
That's not right. That's not right. I don't believe it. It's phooey. That's not real. Who cares?
Girl.
I played.
Well, I read this before then. How about that?
I don't believe you.
But anyway, like when you read these books, speaking of reading the books, like I think Divergent, the book and the movie, is the best that series has to offer, followed by 4, but then nothing else. Because again, they did leave out a lot of characters from the Divergent book to the movie, but I still think it was pretty good. But also, when you read Allegiant, Triss basically, not Allegiant, pretty much Allegiant, and Sergeant and Allegiant, Triss basically has a death wish. It's basically Tobias telling her, Triss, don't do this. And Triss basically being like, YOLO! Like,
I literally wrote down in my notes, I was just like, Trish's and Tobias's relationship in a nutshell is like, you know how like when a parent has their child in the first couple of years is spent with them saying, don't eat that, don't put that in your mouth, hey, don't jump off of there. Like that's Trish and Tobias in a nutshell in Allegiant. And it was so hard to read at one point because I'm just like, you're being selfish, just like Tammy Jo. All right, you and Tammy Jo
didn't deserve Tobias.
Birds of a feather. Okay,
I'm gonna say these last 2 things and I'm gonna pass it off to you. Watching the Insurgent movie is like watching two different things. They took so many liberties with that movie, and I'm fine with that because, you know, again, it's an adaptation, not a dramatization, right? But also it's like they took so many liberties. I do like how Allegiant ends with them like staring off into a distance with most of them alive, because I just don't think anybody, I think that era was kind of over, the dystopian era was over, but also I really don't think anyone really wanted to see Triss die. It does not make sense. But I had one more point to say and I don't even remember. I'm just no, you know what's weird, and it could be this could have been just a rumor that I saw, but do you know, I think they say after her death, Christina and Tobias got together. Why would you do that? That could be a rumor, but like, really?
Honestly, I don't blame Christina. Triss went and killed her man, so hey.
No, it was an accident. Overall, is it still good? No, but it will always have a special place in my heart. It is part of my child, is one of the very cores of my childhood. The Hunger Games really got me reading books. I mean, Sharon M. Draper books were really good too, and that's what I really started reading. But then I read The Hunger Games, and that really got me into this dystopian fantasy. And then I read Divergent, and then The Maze Runner. So it's a very deep core in my childhood, and it was always full of nostalgia, and I will always value it. So is it good? No. But will I always value it? Yes. But what about you? What are your thoughts?
I personally think that them straying, like getting rid of certain characters from the book, really killed the film. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of the characters they got rid of were integral in Triss's character development. Like that's why, remember that part, is it Insurgent, or it's an Insurgent, I think, where they're questioning her in Candor and she's on trial and she's just like, well, everyone around me dies. That's because so many people that she knew and loved has died around her. Like they completely got rid of a whole lot of other friends that she had. Like it maybe they had not, because she didn't only have Christina.
Right.
Christina was her only friend. She had a whole lot of friends. And I'm just like, why would you cut that out? And if you're gonna stray from the original, it better be better. And it wasn't better. It was not better. And I literally didn't watch Allegiant until like yesterday. I refused to watch it.
I watched Allegiant like maybe during the deep part of the pandemic, so maybe in 2020. Like I said, the ending is no one really probably wanted to see her get killed. Like it's just,
and her dying for Caleb doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Do you agree? Because she hated Caleb. Caleb ruined her life, kinda. Caleb was horrible to her. So she's just like, oh, I'll die for you, Caleb, and just runs into the fringe. Like, that's not her. And then people's excuse for that was just like, oh, she's divergent. She doesn't always, do the same thing, which doesn't make any sense because Trish been the same person from the beginning of the book to the end. And when she hates somebody, she hates somebody. When she hated
Like,
Caleb.
she never got over her hatred for Peter. Like,
can I be honest with you, Kaya? I almost called you Caleb, girl.
I know.
I really like Peter's character. I always have. I've always loved Peter's character. Sorry.
I personally, at the end where he gets to reset his mind and just gets rid of those memories, that's a cop-out. I
didn't like that. I didn't like that.
He needs to live with all the crap that he's done and all the crap that he's been through. Like, I
did not like that. I didn't like it. I'm so craving a BLT. I'm sorry, but I think that it is no longer good, and mostly because like the Hunger Games and Divergent came out around the same time, and so I feel like if you compare how good the Hunger Games is now and how good Divergent is now, there's no comparison, right? Like, of course, the stories aren't the same. They're completely different. I don't understand why those comparisons even happen because they're just so different.
But I think it was because they were in a dystopian world. A little girl who was taking on her government, and they say after the war, and people say, what war? It must have been Katniss's war. So I think that's what that is.
So stupid. Anyways, I think that it just does not hold to the test of time the same way the Hunger Games does.
Right. But it will forever have a place in my heart, though.
Yes, I watch for nostalgia to remember those days in middle school and high school, going to the movie theaters and watching it. But do I like it? No. Would I read it again? No. Not happening.
Where adulting didn't matter and friends were friends.
Yes.
But let's move into our last segment of the day. It's time for What's in the Headlines. We'll be Rave and review celebrity news and gossip. And today we're talking about R. Kelly's recent sentencing, the Wendy Williams show, YouTube and Instagram channels being deleted. And we're also talking about one other topic that slips my mind at the moment. So let's start with R. Kelly's sentencing. Bre, how do you feel about that?
I don't understand why someone would think that he deserves less crime when he's committed heinous, and I do mean heinous crimes. Like, this isn't. It's not your regular I'm stealing candy out the candy store crime. He did horrible things. So I do think that it's time the Black community, we should just hold everybody accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because he's Black doesn't mean he's a good person. I'm sorry.
Right.
Skin folk ain't always kinfolk.
Right.
Now,
we saw that last week, didn't we? We saw that last week with a certain Supreme Court. But keep it pushing.
Okay. Anyways, I haven't been on social media recently because I've been taking a well-needed mental health break from Twitter. But I have heard some discourse about it, and most people, I don't know how to say this. I forgot to look up how to say her name. Is it just Elaine Maxwell?
I think it's Elaine Maxwell. People are upset that she got less time than R. Kelly when they have the same charge. They both got charged with sex trafficking. I know for a fact that she got charged with sex trafficking, transporting minors, and 2 counts of conspiracy. R. Kelly got racketeering and sex trafficking. And so she only got 20 years while R. Kelly got over 30 years, correct? Mm-hmm.
No one understands why she got less time if she committed the same crimes as him, and I think that's what a lot of people are upset about. Reasonably so. What's the difference between R. Kelly and Elaine Maxwell? Their gender and skin color, right? Right. And so I think that cases like this really show how messed up the justice system can be. Like, they really, really are lenient on certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And they are more considerate and compassionate and things of that nature. The judge claimed to have said that she was going to make an example of Elaine. She did it, all right? She just made it say, her statement was, if you're white and a woman, you can get away with it. Sorry, not sorry. I don't mean to be rash, but that's how I feel. Okay, what do you think?
I agree that, that's the example that they're using. But you see how we're calling it out? You see how we're calling out the fact that a certain colored woman got less time for the same thing, right? Because we know that's wrong. And when other certain people get less crime for things that are wrong, we call it out. So I don't see, I get the usage of the justice system isn't fair, but I'm not gonna sit here and say they're trying to target a successful Black man, because
That's not what I think.
when the Black community sees this kind of stuff, we call it out. We say it's wrong. So why is it not wrong now? Like, why is it not wrong because he's Black? It's not wrong. Because he's a successful Black man, it's not wrong. It's wrong. And I just, so I guess I do get that. I'm agreeing with you on that. But also, I really wish there are some people in the Black community who are just like, free R. Kelly, and I'm gonna keep listening to his music, and he wrote a lot of stuff for a lot of people. You can't just completely cut him out. It's one thing to listen to a song that you didn't know he wrote. It's another thing to listen to Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. This man is basically telling y'all that he was a predator, and you don't care. Why? Because it was Black girls that were getting assaulted. Because when you look at Michael Jackson and the allegations against him, a lot of people in the Black community were quick to turn on him. We're quick to say that's nasty and yada yada yada. And in no way am I saying that pedophilia of boys makes a connection to homosexuality. In no way am I saying that. But some people think that way, and so it was so easy to cut him off because homosexuality in the Black community is such an offense to some people, right? But when you have the same type of pedophilia, only it's a Black girl, all of a sudden you're not interested in protecting the Black girl. Like and like when this stuff really first started hitting the fans, like it's been controversial for a while, but when it really first started hitting the fans, he was still having concerts, and you had women up there talking about pee on me, R. Kelly, because he had a video where he peed on a teenage girl. And then he married Aaliyah. And people will say, oh, well, she lied about her age. This man was her manager. How do you not know her age? I really feel like sometimes homosexuality is deemed more of an insult to the Black community than...
She didn't lie about her age, actually. I did research. Those papers were falsified so that they could get married.
See, I just think homosexuality is more of an insult to the Black community sometimes, to certain people in the Black community, than pedophilia, specifically pedophilia for Black girls. And it's just like, stop excusing this man. No one is trying to target a successful Black man. The man is disgusting. He deserves to do that time. Point blank, period.
Yeah, I agree. Stop sympathizing with him.
I'll say one last thing, and then we'll move on to Wendy Williams. People will sit here and be like, oh, it's the parents' fault. They did this. They signed off on that little girl, which, yes, the parents do take some responsibility, but also y'all want to act like y'all weren't calling these girls fast. They were fast, right? If these are the same people, or if these are the same children who are supposed to be quiet in your presence and do what you tell them, you can't pick and choose when they're teenagers or not. You can't pick and choose when they're children or not. If they're not old enough to sit here and have adult conversations with you, they're not old enough to sit here and be in relationships with adult people just because you like that person. Bre, do you want to scoot us on into the Wendy Williams topic?
Right, okay. Gladly. All right, so Wendy Williams, her show is coming to an end, and they suddenly shut down her YouTube channel for some reason, and her Instagram, and I think that's weird, and I really don't like that, because I'm really sad that the show is going, right? Like, I grew up watching Wendy Williams on days where I stay home from school, and she would just come on, and I would just watch her, and she opened up a lot of doors, and for us including, you know what I'm saying? She started on the radio, and then when she went to daytime TV, and she's just a legend in general. She's a legend, and it's really weird that they're erasing it. I have heard that she's going to have a podcast with Apple, which, thank God, because we need Wendy. We need Wendy, okay? She's a legend, and I think the podcast is well deserved, and I hopefully we get to still see her or hear her. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I was never really a big fan of the show. That being said, double homicide. Cause like, why is you trying to take her YouTube and her Instagram? Why is you trying to make it like the show never existed? You know, the Ellen show went off the air a month or so ago, and her Instagram is still up, her YouTube is still up, and I just like, why is you? And we know Ellen probably got canceled too. They say the Wendy Williams show got canceled. We know Ellen probably got canceled too for those allegations that came out over the summer. But her stuff is not being deleted. Like, why are y'all trying to erase Wendy? Again, I'm not a big fan of the show, but like, oof.
You can't take away that legend status. That legend status gonna stick.
Wowzers.
Yeah, wowzers.
Let's go into our last topic, which is Rihanna becoming the youngest self-made billionaire in America. How do you feel about that?
I'm happy, because Rihanna went from Ponder Replay to Fenty Beauty. And you know what? Jumping career fields like that is not easy, all right? She went from making pop music to becoming a business mogul, all right? Entrepreneur, that's the word, Kaya. Thank you. You're so smart. And that's not easy to do and still remain relevant. She's still relevant in music and fashion and makeup. Okay, who else can do that? Not a lot of people, all right? So kudos to Rihanna. You deserved it. You worked hard for it. And I'm just happy that, it's her.
Again, yeah, I agree. Again, all I have to really say is like, congratulations. It's so great to see that she's gone from like a music person with like a lot of talent, and then you're an entrepreneur with a lot of talent, and you made your billions. That's awesome. That's all I have to say. That's awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Now she can settle down and have her kid and take care of her baby, and she ain't got to worry about providing for it, because $1 billion go a long way.
Set up for life. Set up for life. But Bre, do you want to go ahead and take us into that outro?
I sure do. That was what's in the headline, and that is our show. Thanks for listening and watching. If you like our content, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and comment. And most importantly, share, and click that notification bell if you on YouTube and you watching us. Do it. Thank you. Bye.
We'll see you next time.